I'd like to welcome you to the Springfield Township Board of Trustee meeting. Today, it's November the 10th, 2015. Let's begin first with the roll call.
Yes, Mr. Bernie?
Present.
Mr. Honolaw?
Present.
Ms. McFarland?
Present.
All the trustees are present.
I'd like next for us to, if Chief Browder can lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chief. Okay. We're going to begin our meeting as well with looking at the last three meetings we've had and need approval. We had a meeting on August the 25th, 2015. It was a regular work session. We had a meeting on September the 8th, 2015, which was our regular meeting, and September the 22nd, which was our regular work session. So need a motion to approve those minutes, those meetings?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Let's see. Next, we'll do our financial report. Mr. Burning, our fiscal officer.
Yes, for the month ending October 31st, 2015, the township's expenditures were $1,516,976.68, and receipts were $740,968. The ending cash balance was $20,831,447.94. This includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. What I request is to approve receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue and reports for the period ending October 31st, 2015. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Just to let everyone know, the financial reports are available at the administrative offices during regular business hours and on our website, springfieldtownship.org. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Next, we have Mr. Henningkamp, our township administrator. If you can give us some department action and discussion items, please share with us.
And thanks, Ms. McFarland. A couple of action items tonight. First two involve our senior center. Been pretty traditional that we establish holiday hours, or actually dates, in which the senior center and community arts center will not be open. And this year we are proposing the week of Thanksgiving, so it would be November the 23rd. That's a Monday through the Friday the 27th. And then also Christmas week, beginning on Monday, December the 21st, and ending on Friday the 25th. And then, of course, the following week it would be the traditional holiday on January the 1st. So just looking for a motion from the board to establish those as the dates in which the senior center and community center will be closed during the holidays for 2015.
Second, and Mike, that's just that it would be closed on the 1st. I didn't quite get that.
Yes.
Just the 1st.
Well, it's those 2 weeks and then also the 1st, which follows the next week,
Yes, okay,
which it would be anyway because it's closed on holidays.
right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item is to establish modified rental rates for the Grove and the senior center. This also is something that we do kind of on a regular basis, yearly basis, that Tom Schneider, our director, goes through, kind of makes comparisons, reviewing our current rates, comparing them with other facilities. I know the board has a copy of those proposed rates. Some of them are just language changes, some of them are different packages and different things that we do based on experience. Don't know if the board has any specific questions. Most of these are fairly modest, and I think if you applied these new rates to, say, what we did this year, you'd be looking at roughly $14,000 in additional revenue. But again, this is just trying to, I think Tom is doing it basically from a efficiency standpoint and then competitive to what's out there in the marketplace.
And have there been any real major changes other than trying to stay in, competition with the other systems in the township and in the
Just
county?
as far as what you see on the.
Okay, because I didn't see anything that just jumped
Nope,
out at me.
nothing, they're all pretty minor.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I saw the thing in there about how they have full-day rental rates on, like, Room C and some of the ones that are popular rooms, but, people want to come, set them up, leave, go back, get ready, do their function later, and this will allow for that. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, some of them are rates and some of them are just policy changes based on the response to the request that he gets or common
Right.
things that don't work. So, yeah, pretty minor, just an updating of the policies and rates.
Do you have anything, Mr. Barnum?
No.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the suggested proposed rental modifications.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item I have is to seek the board's authorization to award the bid to our low bidder for the Brentwood Village East resurfacing projects. A little background, as your board remembers, this was last year's SKIP projects that we, right around this time last year, we were notified of our award for our applications on a number of different projects down in the Brentwood Village area. We did have the bid opening yesterday with the low bidder being R.A. Miller at $721,259.15. That bid is about $120,000 lower than the engineer's estimate, so that is good. We did receive a total of 4 bids, and as you can see from the bids, they're all pretty close to one another. So looking for a motion to award that contract for Brentwood Village's Phase 2 and 3 resurfacing project. This, of course, being contingent on my final review and review by legal counsel and also our service director.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just one question. So when it's gone through the final approval of everyone, when would that work be projected to begin?
I think we probably would look to award in the early spring.
Yeah, it'd be March of 2016.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mike, I don't know if we just said it here, but what streets would this be exactly? I mean,
That's
let's just say it.
It would be the south side of Cavalier and Depke,
Yes.
also
And
Empire
and Empire and Zenith, yes.
and Zenith.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Both sides of Empire.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I might just
So the
add-
public
Yeah.
gets to hear, yeah.
I might just add, one of the things that we've done with the award of some of the bigger projects, this is something that we started, I guess, about 3 or 4 years ago, was traditionally, we'll get the money on SKIP in the following year. So in other words, if we got awarded a project in this November, the monies don't become available until July. Well, by the time you do the bid after the July process, it leaves you a very, very small window, construction season, to try to get that project done before you close it. So what we've been doing is delaying those projects until the following spring, which allows us to build them all in one construction season. And it obviously reduces the inconvenience for the residents. And long-term, we get a better project because the contractor's not trying to rush and do a final coat of asphalt
Makes sense.
in December when the weather can be changing and the asphalt plants are closing and things like that. So it's a little confusing from a budget standpoint because you're getting them, the money awarded in 1 year and you're actually not going to do it until the next, but it is a better way of doing the projects.
Okay.
And that's something we
You
have
don't
no
trust the
control
weather?
of because of the SKIP. What's that?
Don't trust the weather?
Well, the blacktop plants close in December. So it could be 70 all winter, they're not open, so you're not blacktopping.
And since we're talking about the streets and et cetera, I understand that it appears, I don't know where we are with that process, that we may get get the bid or we may get Hempstead and Deerhorn in those areas confirmed.
This is for this year's, our
Right.
applications that we applied for in 2015, right. This project was actually one we applied for in 14.
Yes.
But yes, the 15, we don't have final word yet, but it looks favorable on the Hempstead project, I think was the number 2 project countywide.
That's correct. It was rated number 2 out of 85 applications.
Wow, that's
We
great.
looked pretty good on that one. We also looked pretty good on Deerhorn as well, which is a project up in Pleasant Run Farms. There's an appeals process that all of the applications go through, so those numbers can change a little bit, but we're hoping to know in the next week.
Yeah, next week, but no later than the end of the month.
Wonderful. You guys
So-
did a great job on putting that together.
And those would be projects that we would be building in 17.
True.
So, not sure if you acted on the motion. Did we act on the motion already?
Not yet.
So moved.
We did. We just,
I thought we did.
Okay.
did we?
Never heard it.
Question
All
came
those in
afterwards.
favor? Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
We did it twice, so if we did it twice,
For the
we're
sake-
really
Yeah.
authorizing the project. We're really going to get it done.
Really mean it.
Next action item I have is, and the board has a copy of this, and this is something Chief Leininger brought to my attention, that there are some communities, some townships that have adopted a flag policy. This is for the display not only of the American flag, which we've been following pretty much standard federal policy and protocol regarding it, but also it allows for the display of, when you have township flags or other flags. And this specifically addresses the case where you would have a death of somebody, maybe in the township, some important person in the community, a township firefighter, a township admin person, or a township elected official, something like that. And it doesn't rise to the level of it being where the governor authorizes lowering of the American flag at half-staff. So this would allow for us to raise a mourning flag in such an instance where you'd have a significant death in your community that isn't significant from the standpoint of statewide or nationally, but also allow that to be recognized. And with the recent death of the firefighter and also the police officer, not thankfully in our community, but in Cincinnati, there were some times where communities were lowering their flag. We didn't, but it hadn't been authorized by the governor. And our policy is not to mess with the American flag until we have the proper protocol to do that. This would have allowed us to do something in between that until that time, or as I said, in other instances where there's never going to be such a declaration, you can recognize it individually. And there's different colors of the flags that would represent police, fire, and some other type of community representative or figure. So I know the board has a copy. Like I said, most of this is right out of, standard flag protocol for the American flag, so we're not doing anything unique there. Most of what's unique to us would be the mourning flag aspects. That would be township specific.
I'm glad we have been able to get this into a policy because there truly was some confusion, a lot of confusion, not only with our staff, but also with the community residents asking, when are we going, aren't we supposed to show respect for individuals? And many people didn't know that we had to do that under the auspice of the governor, of the state of Ohio. So this provides some clarification as well as continuing to show respect.
So again, just looking for a motion to adopt this policy as presented.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
A couple of other quick action items, maybe for the board to set some dates. I would like to, we have, getting to that point of the year where we're looking at budget review for our 2016 budget and traditionally set a date for a work session. Have not done that at this point, but I would like to propose to the board Monday, December the 7th at 4:30 in a work session for that purpose. And I do anticipate that there will be some portion, fairly significant portion of that meeting that will need to take place in executive session. But at this time, looking just for a motion for the board to set Monday, December the 7th at 4:30 for the work session.
So moved.
That's a Monday.
That's a Monday.
Okay.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Work session's set.
And then also, we have been meeting with our developer that we have engaged for the Warder Nursery property. I think we're getting close to having at least something preliminary to review and to discuss with the community. Again, it's going to be very, very conceptual in nature. It's not, they're just taking a look and have done kind of an inventory of the property as to what they would call some sort of red flagging areas that they wouldn't want to develop because of topo and different things like that. And I think one of the things we had talked about is having a meeting to update the community of where we are on this process. I would say I think this is still pretty preliminary in the game, but it's probably a good opportunity to do it. I did receive a call from some of the neighbors that are in the vicinity of that area looking for updates as they hear more about the property. So I think it would be a good idea if we schedule such a, I don't know if I'd call it a public hearing, but probably a public meeting to review, update where we are, share some of the very preliminary plans that are starting to be drawn up. And I would recommend we do that on December the 14th, and that would be at 7 p.m.
What day is that?
That's also a Monday.
And
Yeah, I don't know what size of a crowd we might get at that meeting. It's kind of hard to judge, but that, we can talk about the details, but that might be one we want to do back at the Grove, just to give a little bit more room to spread out. I mean, this room's fine for 40 people, but we may get a crowd bigger than that, so it might be good to just schedule that back to Grove. And we'll put out all of the details.
Okay.
But I think we're ready to do it, and the developer thinks it's a good idea to get some feedback at this time as well.
Sounds good.
And again, nothing's in stone. This is just going to be a discussion.
They have not gone out to market at all. They have just recently engaged their design team, which is an engineering firm, and a designer, a land designer, and that team's only been together, I think, for about 2 or 3 weeks. So these are pretty preliminary, but we're still a month off. So by that date, hopefully they'll have some preliminary ideas.
And whatever we present could change it.
Could change entirely.
Right.
I think what they'll be able to do is sort of show what we had a meeting today, and what very preliminary plans that we looked at, just some, like I said, more of an inventory of the site, of areas that from just the nature of the site, the topography, where there's some strands of very, very mature trees, areas that they would look to preserve. We talked a lot about open space, what type of public space we might be looking at. I think folks would be pretty happy. There's a significant amount of green space in the early stages that are proposing. So this is, we originally purchased this as a park. This is very much going to have a park-like feel to it, and there is a significant amount of public or open space as a part of the plan. But like I said, very preliminary. They don't know if there's a market for any of the other uses right now, so this will be sort of bubble diagram approach at that meeting. But it's still, I think it's a good idea for people to be able to express concerns and be able to
I agree,
sort of,
very much.
for those of you who remember the process we went through when we did the park plan, it was very much like that. Some of those initial meetings were just getting an inventory, getting the feedback, what are people's concerns, and then the design team can kind of incorporate some of those ideas and concerns into their designs. So we'll work on a more specific agenda and, on a campaign to make sure the community's aware of the meeting and
I'm
that
glad
sort
we're,
of thing. But just wanted to get that date blocked
we're
out.
going to be at that point, because there have been discussions and people as far out as Pleasant Run Farm have heard about it and want to know what it's going to look like. And then we have people who are interested in downsizing, and they're wanting to know, is there an opportunity for them there? So I think it's the timing, seems like it's the
Well, the
right
unknown
time.
is always fearful, right?
Right.
And I think there's a sense that maybe the plan's moved along and we're sort of keeping it under wraps, and there is no plan yet.
I haven't
We've just
seen
seen,
a plan.
that's what I'm saying. They're just lines on paper right now, and they're very, very early, and they'll be a little further along, I think, by the 14th, but that's what the process is all about.
Okay.
So, still very preliminary, but I think it is a good time to alleviate some of those fears and get some feedback.
Great.
Okay,
So,
we need a motion then. So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just a couple of discussion items. One is, we've been talking about this for about the last 3 or 4 meetings. The TIF amendment that I had planned to have on the agenda tonight, we will not do until either our work session or more likely our December meeting. The Winton Woods, this action requires the approval of the 2 school districts that are involved, Winton Woods and Finneytown. Winton Woods did pass a resolution and have moved forward with it, so they've authorized this amendment. They did that back in October the 26th. The Finneytown School Board has this on their agenda for next Monday, the 16th, so we can't take action until that. So we'll either do it at our work session or the December 8th meeting. So that will be coming back. We also did have, and Gwen, I know you're aware of this, you and I we met with a resident who had a variety of different concerns, but one of the concerns that they had was about a sight distance issue on Ranch Hill. And this is a portion of Ranch Hill, whereas if you come up the hill, and it makes a bend, if cars are parked there, it is very difficult to see around that bend, and you have the possibility for sort of head-ons as they both move towards the center. What's typical in a process like that is when we get a request from a resident, we notify our service department and also our police department. We ask them to go out and look at it from a more of a technical standpoint to see if, in fact, there is an issue based on the Ohio Traffic Manual, and also for the police to take a look at it. We have done that, and both our police and service department are recommending a restriction of a no parking zone. Mike, do you know about what the distance is? You said it's about eight car lengths. So, and that's sort of right at the bend. What has also kind of been our policy is then when we get it to that point, we notify the residents in the affected area that there will be a meeting of the board, where the board's going to consider this particular issue. So if they want to come forward and provide any comment, pro or con to the issue, that they can do that before the board takes action. So we don't have anything scheduled for the agenda tonight to take any action, but I do believe some of the residents may be notified and may be here, so this would be the time to take any comment on that issue.
Okay. Yes. Can we?
So whatever, it's,
You want to do it now, or?
Yes, why don't we do it now, since it's a point of discussion, if it's okay? Yes, ma'am. If you could step over to the podium, please, and just share with us your name and your address and your concerns.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Paula London, and I am a resident of 9366 Ranch Hill Drive. And I did receive a letter in regards to the possible restricted area. And it is a little tight area. I've been living there at the residence for probably about 23 years now. We haven't had any problem as far as accidents or anything else like that. But cars do tend to come up fast sometimes, and they tend not to act like they want to stop. I'm surprised there's not any accidents taking place on that in that particular area, which basically the restricted area that's mentioned is pretty much right in front of our house, and there's a couple other houses across the street, and the three of us only have one-car garage. I would like to just ask for, a state of recommendation, and I don't know exactly what your plans are as far as maybe putting up a no parking sign. Could there be a sign possibly that says slow for oncoming traffic, or yield for other traffic coming on, some type of wordage like that, as opposed to not being able to park on the street at all? Because that's the only place we have to park. We know that we only have one side of the street to park on, And that would put us either parking up to in front of another neighbor's house, and snow emergencies and whatnot, one-car garage, that makes it kind of hard to pull in and out. So I was just offering maybe a suggestion of a different type of sign that might go up instead of saying no parking at all, if that's where you're possibly might be going with that.
Which house do you live in, ma'am?
I live in 9366 Ranch Hill, which is right where they're talking about the area.
Mhm. 366, okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lima. Is there anyone else?
Yes.
My name is Scott Alsop, and I live at 9336 Ranch Hill Drive. I'm not directly affected. In this picture, this photo that y'all put at my door, I'm like right here. And the area affected is right here. But I still have a concern. One is with, I've been living there since 2007. I've never seen any kind of accident. There's a couple of retirees that live there that keep me pretty up to date on the whole neighborhood, which I appreciate. And they've never noticed any accidents. It is a little tight when you come up there. And it's usually people driving up the hill who need to proceed with caution. That's the problem I really see. Not the people coming down the hill, because, they have the right of way. But the people coming up the hill, you're coming up to a bend, you need to slow down. It's pretty elementary. But what I would like to see is what this lady had mentioned, a sign being put up to just kind of let folks know that there's a dangerous, potentially dangerous area. There's already a signpost. Technically, it's in my front yard, but it looks more in my neighbor's yard since I'm on the curve, where you could add something to it. I think that would still give you ample warning before you get further down the hill. And plus, my concern with the cost. As our money situation for the township, and with the roads and the condition that they're in, and Gwen, you know what that road looks like.
Yes, I
Ranch
do.
Hill is horrible. In my house, in front of my house, it's pretty bad too. But there's plenty of areas on Ranch Hill where it's in really bad shape. It's got patches over top of patches. I'd rather see that money being used to address that than sending out a crew to put up 2 new signposts with signs saying no parking from this point to that point. So, I think a compromise would be to put up a warning sign and then spend that rest of that money on those potholes. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
My name is Jan Apro, and I live at 9295 Montoro Drive, and been a resident there for 61 years. I guess I heard the other 2 comments that were made about the particular parking area. My concern is not to put a sign up blocking all of the parking on Ranch Hill. I think if a sign was placed to allow an area open for about 3 cars, because in reality, going up the hill, if there is a car here and one right there, you cannot see coming up the hill. My other concern is the Public Works Department. And I know darn good and well that the Public Works Department has a hard time plowing the streets because those cars are parked there. If those cars weren't parked there, it would allow the Public Works Department to clear the area to make the hill more accessible in bad weather. So it's not the idea that I want to restrict anybody from parking on the whole part of Ranch Hill from Pecora on down. No, that's not the point. There are only approximately 3 cars that park in that area. And I heard the one lady said something about a one-car garage. True, maybe. I have a one-car garage too, but I've also got a driveway, which means I could park a car in the driveway. And it seems as though that the cars that are parked there, and I don't know who they are, I have no idea who they are, but it's just one of these things that I think is a very, very important safety matter. As far as fire trucks coming up that hill, I got news for you, guys. You aren't going to see anything if something's coming down that hill, especially at the crest. And my concern basically is somebody taking their kids to school in the morning, somebody coming up that hill, can't see them. It's just something that is a blind spot. Let's put it that way. And it doesn't take much to put a sign up that says no parking from this point to this point. And that's the only thing I've got to say about it. Thank you very much for your concern.
Thank you, Jan. Well, what we'll do is,
Well, I would just add that what you have in front of you on the sheet showing the proposed or the recommended areas is what the police department and service department is recommending based, Mike, if you guys want to just give a quick overview as to what the basis of that is.
Yeah, if you refer to the Ohio Transportation Manual, it states on a road like Ranch Hill that is engineered at 25 miles per hour, that all times, ideally, that you have at least 155 feet of sight distance. I think it was clearly stated by Mr. Abno that when you're going up that hill and you approach that bend, that's not the case. And when cars have to actually go against traffic, oncoming traffic that would be traveling down the hill, when they have to go around a parked car, there isn't 155 feet there. So it's presenting a hazard. As part of my investigation, I actually did talk to the plow driver that plows, goes up Ranch Hill. He told me specifically that there was a couple times where he had almost head-on collisions because he can't see somebody that's coming down the hill. He's having to go around a parked car, so he's already on the wrong side of the road, and it's a hazard. So I conferred with Rob, and if he wants to add anything to that, but that was my findings.
I believe somebody had a map there. Unfortunately, with these maps, where the cars are parked in that map is not where I myself, along with several members of my staff, went and checked that. Where the cars are parked currently in that map are not where they were parked, at least when I went and checked it. And exactly what Mr. Gold said happened to me is that I had to kind of inch around a car that was closer to the 9379, and by the time I'm out there, it's, so there's kind of hard to recreate these kind of things, but it's all dependent on where those cars are at that time.
May I make another statement? You want me to come forward again?
Please.
yes, Scott.
Well, I think we're kind of making a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, we go all over this township, and we can find places that it's a little bit dangerous. I mean, that's just part of life. But I also want to remind you that there's 2 houses right there in this area that are vacant, that have been vacant for a long time. And that's one of my concerns too, is that if people start parking further up in the hill, where it's in the curb, which is, there's a lot of parked cars there already, it's already filled up, then, we're going to see people doing that. Some of them may be parking down the street a little bit because you have a double lot there with just one house. But we don't know who's going to move in these 2 homes. We don't know if they're going to have kids that are driving. We don't know if there's going to be, possibly a grandparent. And that's my concern, that it's going to, cause more traffic issues as far as people parking up where I live. And it's already a lot of cars there now. So please take that in consideration too. I do understand the gentleman's point of view. I do understand that, but try to understand the residents that's been there. And like the one lady says, 23 years, nothing's happened yet, and there's always a potential for a lot of areas. Thank you.
Is it, yes.
I don't think it's so much for people that live on the street, it's for people that come down the street.
That cut through.
Because when it snowed out there, my husband was on the into the driveway, so that they can plow. And I think the neighbor across the street does too. So it hasn't been a problem since, but it's emergency naturally, we know that all. That street. So we haven't had any problem.
So let me ask, we are looking at 8-car lengths, so could you shorten that length? And would it still, would it minimize some of the hazardous driving and the hazards that we have currently there? Because I heard Scott say something, and I heard Jan raise concerns about, that area altogether. So what if you modified it a little bit? What would that present?
I think that, again, that's kind of what my statement before, it's all dependent upon when you're there at the time. Like when I was there, it was kind of spread out. The 2 cars that you see in the map now, there was one there, and then 2 of them between 9369, 9379. So, I mean, if at least between, if you had to cut that distance down somewhere, maybe between 9361 and 9369 would be where maybe a recommended place to shorten it, and just between those 2 houses potentially.
I'd agree with Mr. Browder. I was thinking, as we're discussing this, you could shorten it maybe 15 feet on either side, allowing 1 car to park in front of 9379 and 1 car to park in front of 9361. It certainly makes the situation better. It's not ideal, but it does helps eliminate the hazard.
Can anybody address the request was maybe we put up a sign, a caution sign or something? I think, Mike, isn't that addressed in the Ohio Traffic Manual?
Yes, it is. And that certainly was, I talked to Paula this morning, and I told her that I would look into that and see what things we could, potentially add to it and stay within the code. I haven't obtained that information yet, but I'm happy to look into it further and see what we can do. I think that's not a problem. Adding a sign, as long as we can do it, that's not a problem for me at all.
Okay, so we'll explore those options and then get back with the residents.
However you want to handle it.
I like
Just need
the
direction from
concerns,
board as to
yeah.
how you'd like to proceed.
Let's look at maybe minimizing the space, and then even also the possibility of erecting some type of signs to see if that would work. How would you all, those individuals that are here tonight, how would you all feel about that? Ms. Paula, how?
I would agree with you take another look at different type of sign, and because where the parking area is right now, and that's really a concern, is where the truck is sitting. That's where that hill starts, and that's where my husband parks. So,
Okay.
other than that probably still be cut off within the decision making, but still, if a sign, a caution sign could be put up, and that might help without us moving hopefully.
As far as I'm concerned, yes, I'm still for putting the sign up as far as the caution, but I'm not for taking any parking spaces away.
So you wouldn't, okay, so you wouldn't be comfortable, we minimize the length, like from 6 to 3 cars or something?
That would not be my first choice.
Okay. Jan?
The only comment I have is, that's fine, but is that sign going to keep anybody from having an accident there, having the public works department with their snow plows and everything, with the fire department responding, whatever it is, or kids going to school in their cars, are they going to pay attention to a sign that says, look out? I mean, these are the kind of things you have to look out for today, too. It's not the idea. If the people don't have a place to park, it's different. And I'm sure these people all have driveways that they can park the cars in. I mean, I don't see one house in my whole area that doesn't have, quote, a driveway. You don't have to have a garage, but you gotta have a driveway.
That's also the inconvenience of getting one car moved out to move out another vehicle. I mean, that is an inconvenience.
Well, I had 4 cars in my home when my kids were all driving. We never had one car on the street. And the way it was worked out is whoever goes out first in the morning, that's the last car that comes in. And that was done that way. And it worked fine. I'm just concerned, I'm really concerned about the safety of the whole situation here. I can just see a mother taking her kids or something to school and meeting another car coming up the hill head on. Now, it's the old adage, we're not going to put up a traffic light until somebody gets killed. And I've heard that time and time again. When somebody gets killed, we'll put up the traffic light, put up the sign, fine, if that's what you want to do. I have no objection to it whatsoever. I'm thinking of the safety of the whole community, not just us people that live in that area. That Adams Road, that Ranch Hill Drive has got a tremendous amount of traffic. You'd be surprised at the traffic that goes up and down Ranch Hill.
I've
From
observed that,
Compton to
yeah.
Adams. It's unbelievable. And by the way, you've also got school buses that come that way, and they got to cross over on the other side of the road.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks for your, yes. Could you step to the podium, please?
Hi, my name is Shirley Cure. I live at 9344 Montoro Drive. Couldn't some of you enlarge your driveways or something, or put something down there? And I know it costs money to do that, but I'm sure there's a payment plan you can get on to enlarge your driveways some to get those cars off the street. And it is bad for these little kids because you have little children out there playing too. You have old folks and everybody coming out there. There's no children. I've heard some out there, so I don't really know. I come up and down that street. I walk that street every so often. But I do know that there are young people out there. At least I've heard them. I'll put it that way. I don't know how they are.
Thank you.
But to me, enlarge your driveway. If you, you've been there 20-some years. If you don't want to sell it, enlarge your driveway. I mean, the thing of it is, it's not going to hurt you to take some of your yard away.
Well,
I mean,
no. Thank you, everyone, for your suggestions, and we will look at that again, review that again. Thank you.
You know, if I could just say one thing, Gwen, these are always kind of contentious neighborhood issues, and we had another one just, a couple months ago, and it seems like these come up, every year there's one or two of these where there's people in the community that would like to see a restriction on parking, other people are opposed to it. Our job as trustees is to look at, what is the best thing for the entire community. We have to look at safety issues, we have to look at convenience issues, and what's reasonable. And so we'll get with our police chief and also with our service director and look at this issue some more. I'd like to go out there and drive it myself, and then we'll bring this back up at another meeting and try and figure out what's the best, the reasonable compromise that we can come up with here. But
And if I can,
appreciate everybody coming to express their views so we can hear what it is you're thinking.
the other thing too is it's interesting that some of, like the one community where we met with some of the residents, the community had been pretty stable because everyone's children had grown up and moved. Then the community was changing as younger people were coming in and younger children were coming into the community. So I don't know if that's a shifting that we're seeing, but definitely, Joe, it is a cut through. There are people that do cut through that. And they don't always adhere to the community values there. Mike, I'm sorry, I didn't.
The only thing I was going to suggest is that before you leave tonight, just get with Mike and make sure that he has your phone number. That way we can contact you, or your email, or however you'd like to be contacted, that when the board does put this on the agenda for if they're going to take some action, everybody's aware of the fact that we're going to do that before that meeting.
Thank you.
That way they're kept informed. The only other thing I have is the personnel update, and a fairly short report at that. Did accept the resignation of William Schumacher, a part-time EMT firefighter, effective date of October 19th. We did accept the retirement, disability retirement of Sergeant Rob Merkel in our police department. His effective date of his retirement is September 25th. And we had promotions of Justin Paulinelli, going from a part-time to a full-time police officer, effective date of October the 24th. And then we did fill 2 vacant sergeant positions. Promoted was Mark Downs, effective October 24th, and Trampus Greer, also October the 24th. And I know the board has copies of the departmental activity reports. Kevin maybe asked you to bring us up to date with community events and programs.
Thank you. I just wanted to invite everybody out. We've got 2 events left for the year. On Saturday, December the 5th, we have our Winterfest event, starting with Madcap Puppets at 1 o'clock. There's a Sienna that comes in, crafts, rides, everything is free, and that goes until 4 o'clock at the Grove Banquet Hall. Then the following day, on December the 6th, the Cincinnati Civic Orchestra will be giving their holiday concert, and that will start at 3 o'clock p.m.
Okay. And can you just give us a little overview on the most recent event that we had, which was the Arts Festival?
Yeah, we had Arts Connect just had its annual art show last Friday and Saturday. We had a fantastic crowd. We hosted our event at Centennial Barn. We had 53 local artists all from around this community showcase their work. It was a very fun, successful event. It was great.
Very well attended, yes. Okay. Do you have
You
anything
have
else?
copies of the departmental activity reports. So unless there's any questions on that, that's all I have, other than the fact that I will need an executive afterwards for collective bargaining purposes.
Okay. Just a minute. Okay. Next, we're going to move to our resolutions. Our first resolution is Resolution Number 75, 2015, authorizing private sale of unneeded and unfit for use property in the Drug Abuse Reduction Task Force Department. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next resolution is number 76, 2015, authorizing the sale of internet auction of vehicles forfeited to Springfield Township pursuant to section of the Ohio Revised Code which are no longer needed for public use, or they are obsolete or unfit for use in the Drug Abuse Reduction Task Force of the Police Department.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The final resolution is number 77, 2015, supplemental appropriations within the general fund and the police district fund.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Okay. Old business. Anyone have any old business?
No more business.
And I would just like to thank the voters for your vote of confidence in re-electing me as your Springfield Township trustee. I'm very humbled and will continue to work with our colleagues, our staff, to continue to move the township forward in a very positive manner. So I just want to thank you for your vote of confidence. Any new business? The only new business I have, I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow is Veterans Day, and that's a very important day where we honor our veterans year-round anyway, but this date has been set aside as a federal holiday. We want to thank the men and women who have sacrificed their lives as well as has served this country so that we can enjoy the freedom of living in America. So I'm amazed at how many veterans we have, not only on staff, but in Springfield Township. But this is a thank you to veterans across the United States. And again, just thanking our veterans for on tomorrow, Veterans Day. Okay, next we have on our agenda, citizens' participation. And please. And this is the time when we ask for citizens to come forward if they have anything they'd like to share with us, any concerns or any positive things as well. And when an individual does step to the podium, we're asking those in the audience to abstain from any conversation so that we may be able to hear what that individual is sharing with us. So, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address us tonight?
I also need your name and address so I can try to write it down.
Thank you. I'm Dave Hughes. I'm president of the Denier Place Street Association. I live at 853 Denier Place. I really appreciate you confirming our meeting on Monday, December 14th at 7 o'clock. I think it will be well attended. The question that I've been asked to ask is that why did bulldozers flatten the house at 718 West North Bend Road by St. Xavier? Is this the intended entrance to the future development of Warder Park? And I say park in quotation marks. What happened?
So the question is, you mean the
Why did
property?
they take the house down on North Bend Road?
My understanding, that house had issues.
Yes.
Does the township
Well,
own
we
the
don't- I don't know
house?
who-
Yes, would you
Yes, we
address
do.
that?
Yeah, I mean, the property, those two properties were taken down. I don't know if you saw the condition of those properties. They were absolutely horrible. So they weren't fit for use as residents, and the garage structure was equally in terrible shape.
Okay, so Mike,
So mainly from a liability standpoint.
so this had nothing to do with the entrance to the commercial development of Warder Park?
Specifically taking those down, no. The acquisition of that property was, yes, to make the property contiguous with the rest of the township-owned property. But to have those two, when we acquired that property, those two particular facilities weren't going to be used for residential, and we weren't going to let them sit vacant. They were in terrible shape. So it was easier just to raise both of those two buildings.
Okay, so if I may ask, what is the proposed entrance to the future commercial development? Where is it?
Well, Dave, you and I spoke, I think, for about
We have.
45 minutes
but
on the phone. As I told you, there's no plan.
Nobody knows yet.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I accept that.
I think we said earlier, none of the trustees have seen any kind of plan whatsoever at this point.
Okay. How many residential properties contiguous with the green space has the township purchased, and where are they?
I don't think we have. Just the two, I think.
What,
Probably over the last 10 years, too.
okay. Okay, do we have any names of potential contractors who will do the actual development and building?
We don't have a plan yet.
Okay.
We're hoping to have a plan, some sort of a general plan that could change by the time we meet with the residents of that area that are concerned.
Okay,
At least a conceptual plan, but we don't have users, tenants, contracts, contractors, anything. This is, and I know we had a long conversation too, and I, from what I got from you, you're opposed to any development of any kind, and the issue is, we don't know what it's gonna be. I mean, I said, I think you're a little premature to be opposed. Wait and see what it is, and then maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But, as I said, we have a duty as township trustees to all the citizens of the township. This is a township asset. We bought this property, 15 years ago? From the city of Cincinnati, when the Smale Commission said that they wanted to sell it. The city wanted to unload it. We looked at it at the time, and I said, this could be very dense housing. We were concerned about it being, a large Section 8 development, and we said, let's get control of it and keep local control. And so it sat there for many years. We explored the idea of a park. I don't think that's not economically feasible. But we would be looking at a development that's going to be complementary to the residential properties around it. We're certainly going to take into account anybody who's a resident there, that there would be if there is a development of that property, and I'm going to say if, because we don't know that we've not had anybody say, yes, I want to move there. But we would be careful to take into account the desires of people that live in the community. But at the same time, we have to look at what is the best interest of the township as a whole. And it's not fair to say, well, the homes around it want to look at it and see green space, so therefore, as I told you all this, so therefore we would say, well, then we'll never develop that, even though it may be a real asset to the community in the long run. And so this is very preliminary. We've had the developer looking at it. We're going to try and come up with some proposals, some ideas, and then that's one of the reasons to have the meeting on December 14th. I haven't seen anything, so I couldn't tell you much more, but to ask us a bunch of specific questions, I don't think it's going to be very productive.
Okay, maybe we'll know more by the 14th. And to Mr. Hiddenkamp's credit and the trustees, you've been extremely, receptive and communicative in that. I appreciate that.
Well, Dave, thank you. And we very much want to have a great dialogue with everybody, all the stakeholders in this, and certainly all the property owners around the Border Nursery property. And so we want to hear what you have to say.
Yes.
We want you to, by the same token, listen to what,
Sure.
other people are going to say. And let's make this a win-win for everybody.
Just to preface this meeting that's coming up, I've had the opportunity to speak with dozens of residents in the area. Almost no one even knows that this is happening, and maybe we're just lazy, but I think that there's been a real disconnect between the proposal and what the residents understand and know. I mean, people, I got to tell you, Mr. Honor-Law, people are furious.
Well,
I mean furious.
Well, we haven't had an outreach yet because there's nothing to reach out about. But once we get to the point where we have something concrete that we can communicate, then we certainly are going to do that. And for somebody to be furious when there may not be a plan, it may be that we just don't have anybody that wants to develop it. We don't know what the plan is. I would say that fury is probably a little premature. Let's wait and see what it is, and then we'll decide.
The one thing I would say is, and I understand that, I hear that all the time, where you didn't say this, you didn't tell us. The plan, or at least the concept of a plan that was done back, I think in 2010, has been on our website since. The township engaged in over a year-long, in fact, I think from start to finish, the whole process was almost 2 years, in which we did a master plan, not only for that site, but we did individual neighborhood master plans as part of the township's comprehensive master plan, which is also on the website. There were, I'd have to go back and look at how many public hearings were. We had a committee of 80 township residents who served on that master plan, who met every month for a year in preparing that plan. And at the end, there was an open house right in this room where a number, I won't say your neighbors, I don't know, but people from that area attended, looked at the boards. Now, those boards were purely conceptual. There wasn't a developer on board at that time. We didn't know exactly what it was. What it was designed to show is potential, what could be done with this particular site. So I understand maybe you missed those meetings, maybe you didn't see it, there were newspaper articles. I don't know how else we communicate that. And again, even at that time, it was sort of hard to get anybody too worked up because that isn't exactly, we knew that wasn't necessarily what was going to be built. It was purely conceptual at that time. We've had State of the Township meetings every year since, and it has been brought up at the State of the Township. We discuss it, we show where we are. There hasn't been a developer involved, and it was only until probably within the last 5 or 6 months that this is sort of heated up. Once the economy got back on track, once the township sort of began to address some of its internal issues, and you and I talked about this, and this is the same conversation we had with your neighborhood association. I think it was back in August when we met, and I don't know if it was your backyard or one of your neighbor's backyard. We went through all of this. So I'm a little mystified as to the fury now when we've been engaging you. It's been a little difficult to engage beyond that because there hasn't been anything specific to say this is what we need feedback on. It's now getting close, but as Mr. Honorlaw said, it's entirely possible that this developer looks at it, comes up with a plan that everybody likes, takes that out to market, and there isn't a market to build these things. I think one of the things the board has been very clear on, I want to say there's probably been 3 or 4 offers on this property to do something. The board said absolutely not. We're not interested in developing it for the sake of developing it. It has to be the right thing. It has to be catalytic in a sense that it has to do something positive for the community. We heard from another segment of the community all during the JEDS hearings that the township doesn't do enough for economic development. We've done housing studies where people who live in the township want to move into a different type. They're in their single-family home, they're aging, they're looking for some attached product, but there's nowhere in the township for them to go for that type of product. So they're looking for something for them. So whether all that will work out or not is what this is sort of testing and seeing. There's also potentially, as I said earlier, an opportunity to do the green space and do much of that park plan could in fact be incorporated into this with walking trails and all the things that the people love, a preservation of the ponds.
Walking trails around a medical center?
I would think that you could. I don't know that it's going to be a medical center. I don't know that that's what we're talking about. There could be offices, there could be residential, there could be some very small retail and a lot of open space in park.
Is it possible that the trustees here would vote to just leave it?
That's a question you have to ask them.
It depends on what the plan is. I mean, I haven't seen a plan.
How about no plan?
Well, you know, it's 50-some acres. It's just sitting there. We don't have very many places in the township that we can develop. And all we've heard for the last 2 years, since I've been on the board, is we need to do economic development. We need to do economic development. That's the biggest space in the township that's available, and we're looking into it. We haven't made a decision. We don't have a plan. We'll look at the plan. We'll see what it is, and we'll see how it fits into the community, and then we'll make a determination.
Okay, I respect that. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
How's it going? My name's William Schaff. I live at 6989 Parkview Drive. I appreciate the board and the comments I've given so far on Board of Park. A few questions I have for the board is initially when the property was purchased from the Cincinnati Park Board back in 1998, there's 2 stipulations on that. The first of the stipulations was that the park would be planned. Well, there's actually 3 stipulations. First one was that there would be an access road from the park, which was built under Springfield Township's money, which exists right by Whitaker. The second part was that the township would develop and implement a plan worth over $1 million to turn it into a recreational park. And the third was that it would remain a recreational park for at least 10 years before other developments would happen, had that $1 million been spent for implementation of a plan. My question is what recreational plan, I saw a recreational plan from 2002 that put it into a skateboarding park and a water development park, which was great, but it was never implemented. So my question is when the development of this plan comes across the board, that they consider the original purchase of the reasoning for the original purpose that the township bought the park from the parks was so that, as in your words, Ms. McFarland said, We do not want this developed into a development property. We want it to maintain green space and park space for the community.
For 10 years.
That's the original purchase. That's the reason why the property was purchased. Okay? I understand there's economic needs and economic growth, but there's also redevelopment besides development. There's a lot of places around Springfield Township we could be spending the money to redevelop areas, redevelop our road systems, our infrastructure. Okay? There's a lot of places. You go over to Brentwood over there, Plaza, right up the street. It's hard to keep a place in there selling business. It's hard to keep businesses around here. There's a lot of things that we could be spending our tax money redeveloping instead of developing areas that actually draw people in. I can attest for people that live on Parkview and in the Parkview neighborhood that a lot of people purchase that property and their houses knowing that there's a safe park for their kids to play in, not having to worry about traffic coming in and out of area for their kids to have to worry about running up and down the streets. And I just would hope that the board would kind of think, as that plan comes across the table, that you kind of think of, there are other ways that we can be using this property and our money to help the whole township instead of redeveloping, instead of developing an area, instead of redeveloping an area we have already developed and turn it to something better. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I promise I'll be quick. Chad Engelman, 871 Finney Trail. I don't think you guys quite understand what's happening. When people walk their dogs, they talk about, I heard this about this park and I heard this about this park. There's a Facebook page called Keep Water Clean, where people get together and go and clean the park. There's a website called Next Door Finneytown, where people get on there and talk about it. And the biggest problem right now is the lack of information because you don't have any information to distribute. So you're seeing a lot of frustration and fear over the unknown. And I think December 14th, a lot of that's going to go away. Then you might see a little bit more of narrowed commentary on Plan A, Plan B. But when you hear comments like people are furious, it's just when you catch someone who's lived on a street for 50 years, original owner, or 60 years, and they're walking their dog and they say, oh, they're going to do this, and they freak out because it's the first they've heard about it. And a lot of people don't keep up with the times. And I just want to let you guys know that that's the frustration and furiousness that you hear people talking about. And I truly think that when we get to the plan on the 14th, it'll be a lot easier for you to understand where people are coming from and what direction, where all this energy is coming from. Because depending on who you catch while you're walking your dog, you can get one story about they're building a parking lot behind Whitaker, or you can get another story that they're putting a 6-lane intersection into this place off of Winton Road behind Whitaker. And it can grow, kind of like the story of the chain where people talk to each other, and by the time you get to the end, it's green instead of blue. So that's where we're all coming from right now. And I think you'll have a much better time once there is something to go forward on that we can debate, yes or no, or A or B, or so forth and so on. But I just want to let you guys know that that's the hubbub that's happening in the neighborhood right now. And it's mostly just people catching people while they're walking their dog and talking about it on Facebook and so forth. So,
Chad, I appreciate your comments and everyone's comments. And, when you have rumors have a tendency to just destroy anything. Whenever you have a rumor, you have to deal with it immediately, or else it will metastasize like a bad cancer. And I know when I was walking through one of the areas there, I heard that you all were going to put traffic through there that would connect with Cross County. And what do you have to say about that, Gwen? And I said, first of all, that's a rumor. I've never heard that before. So I tried to reassure individuals that there was no road going to connect to Cross County through there. And I truly believe that this meeting on the 14th will help address rumors. And if I could just ask everyone to, if you have a question, or if you hear rumors circulating, to call us here, and we can take care of those rumors. And we can also educate you. Now, I've spoken with you, Chad and Dave. I mean, everyone, we've tried to reassure everyone, we don't have any plan, and I've seen concerns raised when, and I'm thinking about Stonebridge, there were a lot of concerns when that area was developed, and I think the biggest asset we have as your trustees and your fiscal officer and your staff is that it's important that we continue, as we've always done, to engage the community in what's going on. So this is another step in that direction. So I appreciate your comments as well. Engaging everyone is critical, and then getting your feedback and listening to your concerns is critical as well as we address this particular situation at this time. So when you hear rumors, the best way to squelch it is to tell on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes, Scott? If you could step to the podium.
Do I have to say my name again, all that stuff?
I can find it. No, I can find it in notes. I gotta write all this down, that's why I asked you.
I tell you what, you folks have one tough job. I mean, you really do. This is a new perspective for me. Because I'm one of these people who, looks at the township and say, we have a pretty, high tax rate compared to other townships. And, what kind of bang are we getting for our buck? And I know we're mostly residential. And I'm, thinking we need some industry in this township. That's not what people want. I'm thinking 50 acres. Whoa, boy, yeah, industry. That's what we need. Years ago, there was a plot of land there on Adams Road at the bottom of Range Hill, and it was rezoned for residential, and I was against that because I wanted industry. I lived right next door to that lot, okay? I wanted industry, something that's going to bring some value to the township and a little bit of balance where, we're getting, more value out of that property as far as taxes from it than, putting homes in there. So I really do appreciate your position and, trying to satisfy so many people while balancing the needs for the township. But, I think a lot of people, they like the thought of parks and things like that. I'm against it. I don't want any more parks for this township. I want to see some industry. I want to see some opportunities for jobs to come into this township, not parks. We need jobs. So, and I know most people are thinking the other way, but they got to look at the big picture. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
I was thinking, Scott and I had a discussion, I don't know how long we talked, where he expressed his views, his values, and where he wanted to see the township go, and I invited, I said, you should come to a meeting and you could hear, and I think it's great that you came tonight, so you can hear, there are other concerns by other residents in the township as well, so thank you. And I thank everyone for your comments and your thoughts that you shared with us this evening. Is there anyone else? Before we adjourn, I would just like to thank everyone for expressing your thoughts, your concerns, and for coming to the meeting this evening. Thank you so much. I know there's probably other things that you could have done, but nothing could have been as exciting as this meeting tonight. So thank you so much for coming and attending our meeting, and we're going to adjourn the meeting, but we're going to go into executive session. Purpose of... Let me read my writing here. For collective bargaining.
Yeah, it's going to be from collective bargaining, but it's for preparing, coordinating, reviewing, negotiation or collective bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation and other terms and conditions of employment.
Okay.
So moved.
Seconded?
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
We're in executive.
And I would like the individuals who are here from the Ranch Hill community, if you could give your name, address, contact information to Mike Gould, who is our director of the service department, so that we can stay in contact with you. And again, thank you so much.